Everyone trying to lose belly fat with fasting eventually reaches the same point. Too many rules, too many protocols, too many things that supposedly have to align perfectly. And that's exactly when results stop. Not because the complexity stopped working, because the complexity was never the reason it worked in the first place. 3 eggs broken the right way do something to your body that most complicated protocols spend weeks trying to force. It's not a hack. It's just what happens when you stop adding friction to a process your body already knows how to run. Look, I've had guys come to me after doing 16-8 for 2 months, doing everything by the book, right window, right hours, staying consistent, and they're about to quit, frustrated, convinced their metabolism is broken or that fasting just doesn't work for them. And every single time, the problem wasn't the fast. It was the 10 minutes after the fast ended, not because they binged, not because they ate something obviously wrong, because they made a choice that looks responsible, that sounds healthy, that feels like exactly the right move, and their body treated it like a wrecking ball to everything the fast had been building for hours. I've been there too, done the fast perfectly and then casually added something to my first meal that I genuinely thought was fine. Watched the results stall for weeks before I understood why. So when I say this is the part nobody talks about, I mean nobody talked about it to me either until I figured it out the hard way. That's what we're fixing today. And by the end of this, you'll see your first meal completely differently, not as eating healthy, but as either protecting or destroying the work you just did. Here's what your body is actually doing at the end of a fast. Because once you see this, the egg thing stops sounding like a tip and starts sounding obvious. After hours without food, your body has been running on stored fat. Insulin is low. The fat-burning machinery is open and working. But here's what most people completely miss. Your muscle tissue is in a vulnerable, prime state. It's waiting for a signal that tells it whether to rebuild and strengthen, or to adapt toward protecting energy storage instead of burning it. Think of it like this. Your body after a fast is like a construction crew that just finished clearing a site. They've done the hard prep work. The ground is ready, but now they're waiting for the first delivery truck to show up, because whatever arrives first determines what gets built. Send the right materials, and they build. Send the wrong ones, and they wait. And while they're waiting, the whole project stalls. Protein is the right truck. Specifically, complete protein with the full amino acid profile needed to send that rebuilding signal. And eggs, whole eggs, yolk included, are one of the most bioavailable sources of that signal that exists in a normal kitchen. 3 eggs tells your body, protect the muscle, burn the fat, keep going. But here's the part that makes this whole thing fall apart for most people, and it's happening in kitchens every single morning, with foods that are genuinely considered healthy. You eat the eggs, good start, then you add toast, or orange juice, or a banana, because it's fruit, it's natural. What's the problem? And right there, everything shifts. Because this is exactly the move that's been quietly stalling results for people who are otherwise doing everything right. It's not that fruit is poison. It's not that carbs are evil. It's about what happens to insulin at that specific moment, right after a fast, when your body is in its most sensitive metabolic state of the entire day. This is the window where what you eat first has an outsized effect compared to any other meal you'll eat. And most people have no idea they're in a different situation than they are at lunch or dinner. When you end a fast with protein alone, insulin rises gently, just enough to shuttle amino acids into the muscle. Fat burning slows slightly but doesn't stop. The transition is smooth, like a car downshifting instead of slamming the brakes. The moment you add a fast-digesting carbohydrate to that first meal, insulin spikes sharply. Not a gentle rise, a spike. And a spike at that moment doesn't just slow fat burning. It stops it. It sends a clear signal. Fuel is available. Stand down. The fat-burning machinery that ran for hours shuts off, and your body switches entirely into storage mode. You did the fast. You handled the hard part. And then a banana finished the job before you did. Ever feel like you're doing everything right and still stuck? This is usually why. Now, I want to give you the full picture of what 3 eggs actually does here, because the mechanism is more complete than most people realize, and there's one more thing about how you prepare them that most people overlook. I'll get to that in a second, but the foundation first. Whole eggs contain every essential amino acid your body needs to trigger muscle repair and rebuilding. Not some of them, all of them. Think of amino acids like a construction crew where you need every roll filled to break ground. Miss one specialist, and the whole project waits. Eggs are one of the few foods that show up with the complete team. The yolk specifically does 2 things that most people throw away when they go egg white only. First, it contains choline. Think of choline as the logistics coordinator for fat metabolism, the one making sure the fat that gets mobilized actually gets processed instead of just floating around. Second, the healthy fats in the yolk slow digestion, just enough to prevent the sharp insulin response you're trying to avoid. The yolk isn't extra. The yolk is half the mechanism. Put it together. Complete amino acids send the muscle rebuilding signal. Choline supports fat processing. The fat content keeps insulin controlled. All three working at the same time, from one food, without you having to think about it. That's not a complicated protocol. That's just what happens when you give your body the right first input and get out of the way. You know what I'm talking about, right? That feeling when you realize the thing that was blocking you wasn't some advanced concept you hadn't discovered yet. It was something simple you were accidentally undoing. I've seen this click for guys who had been stuck for months. Not because they needed a harder protocol, because they needed to understand what was actually happening in that window and stop interfering with it. The frustrating part is that most fasting content never gets here. It covers the window, it covers the hours, it covers what to eat in general terms, but it doesn't explain that the first meal operates under a completely different set of rules than every other meal you eat, and that the healthy choices you make the rest of the day don't automatically apply here. General healthy is not the same as strategically correct for this specific window. That distinction is what separates people who get results from people who stay frustrated. Now, the preparation question, because I said I'd come back to it, and it's worth closing properly. The cooking method doesn't change the mechanism much. Boiled, poached, scrambled, fried, the protein and yolk content remain largely intact regardless. What does matter is what you cook them in. Vegetable oils, corn oil, soybean oil, the generic stuff in most kitchens, introduce an inflammatory input that doesn't serve you in this window. Not catastrophic on its own, but it's unnecessary friction when you're specifically trying to keep the first meal clean and controlled. Butter, olive oil, coconut oil, any of these work. The egg does the heavy lifting. Don't let the oil quietly undermine it. And here's the thing most people ask next, is 3 eggs enough? Do I need more protein? For the purpose of this first meal, triggering the muscle signal, controlling insulin, supporting the fat-burning transition, 3 whole eggs is sufficient. You're not trying to build mass here. You're trying to give your body a clean, complete rebuilding signal without overloading digestion or triggering a storage response. 3 eggs does that. Adding more food to the meal, especially fast carbs to complete, it is where the problem starts. The mechanism, the foods that undo it, and the exact first meal setup is broken down step by step in the pinned comment. It's free. Take it, use it on your next fasting window, and see the difference. And if you want to keep understanding why things work, instead of just following rules that stop working, subscribe. That's the whole point of this channel. Look, let's be real about the simplicity for a second, because I know part of you is still waiting for the complicated version. Is eating 3 eggs and nothing else boring? Yes. Is boring the point? Also yes. One of the biggest traps in the fasting space is the constant hunt for the optimized version. The perfect meal, the perfect combination, the perfect stack that maximizes the window. And while you're searching for perfect, you're adding complexity. And complexity is exactly what got you stuck in the first place. 3 eggs doesn't require a recipe. It doesn't require a timer, a supplement, or a grocery list. You crack them, cook them how you like, skip the things that undo them, and your body handles the rest. That's it. The simplicity isn't a limitation, it's the whole point. Your body isn't broken. It's not resistant. It's not fighting you. It's actually very good at burning fat, better than most protocols give it credit for. The problem in most cases is that the last 10 minutes of a fast have been undoing the previous 14 hours. Not with bad food, with slightly wrong food in the wrong order. Fix the break. Keep it clean. 3 eggs, no fast digesting carbs alongside them. And give your body the clear signal it needs to finish what the fast started. You don't need a harder window. You don't need a new protocol. You just needed to understand what was actually happening in that first meal. And now you do. The content in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Always consult a healthcare professional before making significant changes to your diet or eating patterns, especially if you have any underlying health conditions.